Over the last 40 years, Jeppesen has designed more than 100 of these commemorative charts to honor individuals for their contributions to aviation. The charts themselves are derived straight from our standard airway manual charts. The creators of these milestone charts, Ted Thompson and Keith Neihart, are the talent behind bringing to life the legacy of Jeppesen charts for the individuals being honored. Now, in just a moment, two of these honorees, retired airline captain Chesley Sullenberger and aerobatic pilot Sean D. Tucker, will share their own experiences with receiving a commemorative Jeppesen chart. First, though, let's take a look at the art of designing these charts as seen through the hands of their creators and the eyes of the recipients.
I've been here for over 43 years, started in 1973. And my first involvement with commemorative charts, also known as retirement charts, started in the mid-70s. We've produced over 100 commemorative charts. We've produced them for each of the Jeppesen presidents and CEOs as they've retired, heads of airlines, significant aviation business partners. We've produced them to commemorate historical milestones and events, such as the Apollo 13 moon mission, or Gene Cernan, the last man on the moon, or notably the U.S. Airways 1549, Miracle on the Hudson. The processes that we use to collect the information and to create a commemorative chart are also mirrored after the traditional processes that we use to actually create instrument approach charts, terminal charts, and route charts at Jeppesen. And those processes include the collection of the source information. I work with a so-called sponsor, someone who typically has requested a commemorative chart or is a point of contact. That person then sets about to find a few individuals that secretly will contribute stories and information. The next stage then is I will sit down and I will look at the information, and I'll try to develop a theme or a particular focus that represents that person's tastes or talents, or in the case of a special event, obviously whatever that event was about. In the process of creating the charts, I might opt to create an additional briefing page, because oftentimes we'll collect so much good information that it seems a shame to put it to waste and not share it. I will take that information that I get, I will literally lay it out on an enlargement of the candidate chart that I've chosen, or in some cases create a chart from scratch. We'll take that information and I'll modify intersection names, waypoint names, location names to include people's family members, prominent names, their hobbies, and also try to find a way to include some of the funny little anecdotes and stories that we collect about people. We'll use techniques that literally spans decades of the production processes that we've used in the company. So for example, when I'm compiling a chart, I'm using traditional pencil dividers and annotating a chart itself as I compile the changes. My colleague, Keith Neihart, he actually uses then the next generation of computer graphics equipment, and he'll construct literally a design file that has the image. We'll print them on state-of-the-art printing presses. So once I've compiled the chart, I give it to Keith, and then Keith will take my compilation and literally take the computer graphics microstation equipment and construct a chart from scratch.
I take the layout material and through that meeting, and then I go into or Jeppesen tools and I build the chart close to the layout. After that, after the chart is at the point where I feel like it's really good, me and Ted get back together and we make sure that everything is the way we want, and we make a lot of modifications. Right at the end, we really try to give it TLC.
He'll print it out and I'll edit it. I'll make any changes, last minute corrections, sit back with Keith again, and then together we'll make the final copy. Once Keith is finished and we have a final copy that we both agree on, he will then modify it into the format that then we can use to send to imaging and printing over in the Centennial facility. They'll create enlargements that we eventually will frame, or we'll print a few hundred copies that'll be presented to the honoree and distributed to employees, and that. We also have a result, which is the digital file in a PDF. The significance of creating an airway manual approach chart and modifying it to commemorate a special event a well-known aviation figure. To that individual, it represents their permanent and lasting connection with Jeppesen, and it gives stature and significance and honor to their personal contribution. The charts that represent historical events are actually the most difficult to create. Because of the historical significance of those, and because many people are familiar with those, you have to be completely accurate with the facts and the information that you put on there.
Oh, I was overwhelmed and I felt very honored. Not very many people get to have a commemorative chart designed by Jeppesen to commemorate one of their flights. And so it was very apparent to me from the very outset that a lot of care, a lot of dedication, a lot of work, and a lot of effort went into creating this chart, to finding out about each one of us and putting a lot of personal detail and choice into how it was designed. So it was a wonderful gift, and I'm very glad that this flight has been commemorated in such an important way.
And I can say that the reward that Keith and I and others get is when you see that satisfaction from people when you've combined their professional and personal lives and their contributions with something as instantly recognized as a Jeppesen chart.
That kind of celebrates their life, celebrates their career. You know, it really is a representation of their contribution, lots of times to our company, but oftentimes just to aviation in general. In some ways, I'm making a historical document, like maybe the Captain Sully chart, but it may be an individual at work that has been here for 30 years.
The charts are purposely limited in number. I have to credit Mark Van Tine, because a few years ago, as their popularity started to increase and they got more exposure through being posted on Jeppesen.com and Facebook and other places, more and more people got to see them. And it was not uncommon for people to come up and make requests. And Mark and I had a conversation, and he purposely told me that he saw those commemorative and retirement charts as having tremendous value and significance, not only from the point of satisfying the individuals who are being honored, but it would be a way to preserve kind of a traditional or historical sense of what Jeppesen charts look like. So Mark and I worked up some guidelines, which are informal, but are purposely intended to keep the numbers low, to preserve their significance, their value, and their special meaning.
I have my chart framed right next to my National Aviation Hall of Fame plaque that I received a number of years ago, and I hold it with the same level of pride, respect, and humility that Jeppesen has allowed me into their family and recognized me as somebody that has value. On my chart, it shows a runway depiction, and the picture's upside down, but that's how I live my life. I can perfectly see that straight-in approach for landing 3-1, and I can see the numbers because I live upside down. But it says, note on final approach, if the runway numbers are upside down, go around unless you're doing an inverted ribbon cut. Mark presented me with this chart. First of all, I didn't know it was commemorative. I thought it was for real. You know, all the highlights of my life are on there.
That represent milestone events and significant individuals, and those are actually framed and hung in the company. And I take great pride in the sense that thanks to Mark's forethought, we'll be able to have a lasting, at least a tangible representation of those hung on the walls of Jeppesen, and I'd like to think that they're going to stay there a long, long time after me, after Mark, and people can look at those and still have that connection to what we're making today well into the future.
Our thanks go to Ted and Keith for sharing the art of designing commemorative charts. And thank you to our honorees, Captain Sullenberger and Sean D. Tucker, who were presented their commemorative charts at the Gathering of Eagles at Oshkosh in 2010 and 2014, respectively. And finally, a special acknowledgement to Mark Van Tine for his 35 years of service to Jeppesen and for allowing us to use his own chart to demonstrate the honor and significance of Jeppesen commemorative charts.